The history of the largest American car maker is crowded with bad decisions, so much so that many of us wonder how this company even survived through all these years. After the government's bailout and all the troubles that came with a global financial crisis that occurred 15 years ago, it looks like it's time for a new turbulent chapter in the company's history. This time, it's about GM's EV efforts, which are turning out to be a total gong show. Don't believe us? Check out these 6 indicators. Number 6. Ultium EVs are a total failure. A couple of years ago, GM proudly introduced its new EV platform called Ultium. With a full set of advanced technologies, it was believed that GM would soon enough become Tesla's key rival in the EV market. The company poured billions into the development of new cars and already managed to launch a decent number of them. GMC Hummer, Cadillac Lyriq, Chevy Silverado EV, and Chevy Blazer are just some of them. However, none of these managed to become a popular seller. Even though GM managed to sell 76,000 EVs last year, most of them were the good Bolt EVs, a model that has just been discontinued. As for the models based on the Ultium technology, a total of 13,938 cars were sold in 2023. Which seems beyond disappointing if we consider all the billions the company has invested in its development. If you remember Barro's statements from 2 years ago, GM expected to sell 400,000 EVs by 2023. Obviously, that didn't happen. It won't happen anytime soon. So officials eventually abandoned this ambitious plan. Out of these nearly 14,000 sales, 2/3 went to the Cadillac Lyriq. Other models have been slow sellers, with some of them being sold in no more than a couple of hundreds of examples. And if it could trust experts, the lack of interest isn't the key reason for such a slow performance. Instead, the problem is in the company's inability to establish sustainable production that won't cost a fortune and make the company lose thousands of dollars on each EV it sells. In the last few years, all we've been hearing from GM officials are excuses for all kinds of delays, including the recent one that moved the production of the Silverado EV to late 2025. In the meantime, another car maker may endanger its business plan to some point is Honda. The Japanese manufacturer has just launched its first all-electric model called the Prologue, in collaboration with GM, in which General Motors is obligated to deliver 40,000 Prologues in 2024 and 70,000 in 2025. With the current set of circumstances, that's not going to happen, most likely. Number 5. Chevy Bolt EV troubles. GM's troubles with electric cars started way before the introduction of the Ultium platform. Practically, it all started with the company's first mass production in EV, the Chevy Bolt, which turned out to be quite prone to catching fire. Like any other EV, it comes with a risk, but that risk is higher in this case due to certain design flaws of the battery. At first, the company recalled 50,000 Bolts produced between 2017 and 2019, but soon after, it turned out that these EVs remained risky even after they had their recall work done. What's particularly interesting was the advice GM officials gave the customers, suggesting that their car should be parked outside houses and garages in order to reduce potential damage to structures in nearby vehicles. Moreover, owners were advised to park their Bolt EVs on the top floor or in problems with a number of issues coming to the point where GM had no other option but to stop the sales. Let's find those reports from Edmund and other test drivers, because it turned out that the Blazer was designed so badly that it wasn't even able to finish a test ride. Infotainment system failures, battery issues, and inability to charge at public stations. These were just some of the dozens of problems that occurred. Today we know that all these problems were caused by bad software design, which was done in-house. GM addressed the problem quickly, and according to GM's Vice President of Products, Software and Services, Boris Satinok, all issues were fixed, including the biggest one, which refers to the after-mentioned inability to charge the battery at public stations. Satinok stated that there were certain coding bugs that didn't allow seamless integration public chargers. But GM once again showed huge incompetence because the software update brought way too many compromises. Namely, the charging may work, but GM software engineers didn't manage to solve problems with smartphone integration, so the Blazer EV doesn't feature Android Auto or Apple CarPlay anymore, for example. And while GM officials claim that these services are not even needed, given that as they claim the in-house software works better, we know that's far from true. Another big limiting factor is the semi-autonomous driving system called the Super Cruise, which still doesn't work as expected. Errors appear frequently, and they are common among all GM models, including Ultium-based EVs. The problem has just gotten bigger, considering that independent test teams established that the Ford Super Cruise operates way better, is easier to use, and is more convenient in general. Number 3. Silverado and Sierra EV delays. We all know how much Americans love pickup trucks, so it doesn't surprise that GM put so much attention into its electrification. The company did launch the GMC Hummer pickup first, but it was clear that the best was yet to come in the form the all-electric Silverado and its sibling from GMC, known as the Sierra. The plans were big, not only to catch up with the already selling F-150 Lightning, but to establish the basis for a model that would soon enough take the place of the internal combustion Silverado and Sierra models, which are by far the biggest moneymakers for GM. But a combo of different factors, including high production costs, cold demand, and the overall inability to design a proper electric pickup, led to the point where the company currently produces no more than 500 units a month. Moreover, only the base work truck version is offered at the moment, while the mass production has been moved to late 2025, and that's just for now, as further delays are also possible. In other words, instead of the initially planned fast transition, it'll take years, if not decades, to fill the shoes of the excellent ICE versions of GM's full-size pickups. Number 2. Share buyback. From today's perspective, it's pretty clear that GM put so much effort into fast electrification that it even endangered its capital on long-term sustainability. The company invested billions, but never managed to optimize production. The cost is still extremely high, and that is, as we already established, the main reason why production volume is still low. Increased production would only lead to bigger losses, so the management had no other option but to pull the brake on EVs in order to save capital. Major EV projects have been delayed, and shareholders weren't particularly happy about that. Moreover, they felt like GM didn't meet their expectations. So in order to calm investors down, Lara and the crew decided to make a radical move. They decided to buy back shares worth $10 billion just to calm investors down. According to the latest reports, the buyout program will conclude later this year, and there are several banks included in the process, including Bank of America Corporation, Goldman Sachs Group, Incorporated, Barclays Bank, PLC, and Citigroup, Incorporated. Number 1. Dealers want hybrids. The EPA has just come up with a new, less ambitious proposal. EV growth has slowed down completely, while the middle class is not ready to embrace EV technology. In other words, it's clear that GM rushed into fast electrification, and now it's time for a change of course. Dealers know that best because they're a direct connection between buyers and the manufacturer. They know very well that mass EV adaptation is not going to happen. They're ready for everything, just to avoid irrational investments in EV infrastructure. The recent situation with BE with dealers is the best possible indicator. Dealers want something that sells and brings money, and at this point, that would be hybrids, along with good old gas-only cars. If you look around, you can see that companies like Toyota, which have been investing in hybrids instead of EVs, are now enjoying the moment with record-high profit margins. Hybrids are growing at a much faster pace than EVs, so it doesn't. Barra and other executives already announced that the company will be putting more focus on gas-electric vehicles in the future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.